It's my pleasure to join you this morning, and I thank the dedicated and highly skilled staff of the Special Needs Network for inviting me. I'm going to speak very briefly to you about a few reflections on youth leadership, because given that I got elected to the seat that I now hold at about 26, are any of you in your 20s yet? All right, there you go, 20s. This year, all right, coming up. Try to step closer or further. There we go. People think that I know a little bit about youth leadership. I don't know. But I did stay at a Holiday Express Inn this weekend. That was a joke. So first off, I'd like to kind of give a description of what an assembly person is. Most people have very absolutely no notion. Anybody have an idea? You know what Congress is? You know what a congressman is? So California has a state version of that, and that's called the state legislature. And we have a bicameral legislature. There are two houses. There's a state senate. Everybody knows what a state senator is, or a senator is in general. And you have a state assembly, which is like the House of Representatives. So I served in the state assembly, which is like the U.S. House of Representatives, and they call us assembly members. I represent about 500,000 people in the southwest and west Los Angeles area, from Western Avenue at the far east all the way to Lincoln Boulevard and Marina Del Rey. The district that I represent goes as far south as Florence Avenue and as far north as Sunset Boulevard. So there are a lot of communities there: Inglewood, Hyde Park, the Crenshaw District, Woodruff Park, Arlington Heights, Jefferson Park, Ladera, Windsor Hills, View Park, Baldwin Hills, Cheviot Hills, Mar Vista, the entire city of Culver City, Palms, and what we call Westwood or Holmby Hills. So a very diverse district, a lot of expectations. Most people think when they live in that district that they should be able to live, work, and play in a safe, nice, inclusive environment. Whether you be if you're a public employee, if you're a school teacher, if you own a business, if you're in the entertainment industry, and that's kind of the mix of folks that live in that area. Most of the private sector jobs that are in the area are associated with the entertainment industry, primarily because we have 3 movie studios and then several television studios that are in the Assembly District. Fox, which is in Century City, Sony, which is in Culver City, and then Culver Studios, which is also in Culver City. So it's a pretty cool district to represent. I've lived in portions of it most of my life, save a time where I was away at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I was there for 4 years, but other than that, I've essentially lived in and around the district that I represent. I mentioned that I was 26 when I took office in 2013. I was the youngest such person elected in about 80 years. The reason primarily being is because it's hard for young people to get a foot into things like politics, because it takes a lot. If you think about just if you were, some of you may have just finished high school, some of you may be in college, but just to run for student office, what do you need to do that? You got to know people, they have to like you. You have to kind of understand what people want to hear and all that. It takes a long time to figure out what that means when you're talking about education, transportation, healthcare, jobs, provision of service for the mentally ill and the like. So that's why it takes younger people a while to get there. But you, believe it or not, you may already appreciate this, are ahead of the curve. By virtue of being a part of the LA County Summer Youth Employment Program and working with the Special Needs Network, you're going to learn things about autism spectrum disorder, about educational services, IEPs, independent education plans, that your parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, essentially older people, won't know. You will begin developing skill sets that I hope will inspire you to major in education or make a commitment to being a teacher or a volunteer or a tutor or a coach and contributing to your community in that way. Part of what you're doing also is because you're kind of in a form of public service by virtue of this leadership that you're doing at the Camp JPAC, I think is what you all are going to be working in, right? Because the students that you're going to be serving need positive role models, and they need to see what they can be, what they can achieve if they put their minds to it. You all can't look at yourselves collectively, but when I look at you, I see the people who are going to be leading our community in a very short period of time. If you're almost 20 years old, who's the youngest person here? 16, 17? Anybody 16 or 17? All right, that's the youngest. Anybody younger than that? What, 15? 16, all right. So in a minute, you're going to be running things. And the funny thing is even though I'll be 30 this August, most of you and I are in the same generation. We are considered millennials. If you were 17, between the age of 17 and 37 right now, the defining characteristics of being a millennial are that you grew up with computers in school, that you had access to email early on, and that you use technology, tablets, and the like. Those are kind of the defining characteristics of being a millennial. And you get most of your news on things like Facebook or online. Some of you are world star hip hop, but I won't tell anybody. And that is a very different model of how information and communication changed. Getting information on social media versus print media, getting it from Twitter as opposed to even watching the evening news. Like, who watches the evening news? Do you even know what time you do? Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. No, that's good. Yeah, I know. Okay, do you watch one of the single number or the double number? Single number like 2, 5, or 7? Okay, good. Well, y'all are better than me. I live in 2 cities, so forgive me for not always watching the evening news. Most of us do not. Most millennials do not. So that may be why you're here, because you're a little ahead of the curve, because information is power. It really is. Because they can't take information away from you. You can lose a job, you can lose, unfortunately your health won't always be great, but they cannot take that which you learn and process, and your mind is a muscle. If you flex it by virtue of acquiring information, building relationships and networks, the connective tissue of your mind remembers those things. So something that you, and in this JPAC campus, this is your first time working here, something that you learned in kindergarten is going to come back to be useful this summer. Happens all the time. The other thing that's interesting as camp counselors, and you're going to assume the role of instructors and teachers, is that it's going to benefit you. You're going to see how difficult it is for your teachers too. And you're going to be much more empathetic to their concerns, because you have to prepare yourself rather regularly to essentially perform for your students, your clients. And it's something that is, I think, rather important, it's special, it's critical. A couple of things I'll mention, and I'll take some questions if that makes sense. Is this feedback bothering you, by the way? You all okay? Okay, good. So we have some interesting things going on in our office that I want you all to be aware of, because you all are the kind of folks I like to work with. You're generation woke. You're aware, you're engaged, yep, with it. If this was a Blavity Reddit section, we have, the lit little fires, emojis going on. So we in our office are very oriented towards serving our constituents. There are a number of ways that we do that. One way is that we carry legislation. Remember, that's really my primary job, is to come up with ideas and see if they can become law, or change existing laws to see if they can better serve the constituencies that I represent. Another way that we try to serve our constituents is by managing casework. The population that you're going to serve through that. We primarily interface with their families related to the services that they're entitled to by virtue of state and federal law. So, which you may learn, may have a sense of, or already know, is that if one has a developmental delay, there is law, long-standing law in the United States that says that they have to get a certain level of service so that they can function in public school and in life. So legislators like myself have overseen a system called the regional center system that provides for individuals with developmental delay, autism spectrum disorder, any number of things related to not having been born with the developmental skills and the mental acuity skills to function on your own without substantial intervention. What we know is that if you intervene or provide intensive services early to individuals who are born as such, they can, what they call mainstream, eventually. And the earlier that you catch it, the more important it is. Why does this matter to you in relation to my office? I want to invite those who are enjoy this experience and those who may have time after this, as you're going back to school, to come and work with me in my office. We have an office on 39th and Crenshaw, and we serve our district out of that office. We call it a constituent services center. And most of what we do there is casework associated with any number of complaints, whether it be child care, public assistance, ed welfare, developmental services, education services. People have complaints, they call Sebastian, I try to figure out if I can help them. It's kind of interesting and it's kind of fun. And if you think of yourself as interested in problem solving, if you think of yourself as a good writer, if you think of yourself as someone who communicates well with oral communications, in addition to those good writing and written communication skills, we would love to have you come and sign up. Why is it important for you? Because I learn from you and you'll learn from me. Nobody works like I do because nobody cares like I do. Because as one of the younger elected officials in this state, and the second youngest in the assembly at this point, there's someone who's 2 months younger than me who just got elected in November. All of what we do now, everything that I do now, has more impact later than it does sooner. Most of you will not remember much of what we said here today, and you will forget before the end of the summer that we even met. But 10 years from now, I'm going to be asking one of you for a job. You're going to be asking, one of you is going to be asking one of me for a letter of recommendation. And all of those experiences, all of those encounters, all of those remembrances that come back will in part have started here. So for those of you who think, wow, I think of myself as oriented toward community service, or I see myself as wanting to make a real difference in my community, or just getting to learn my area better, come on by, apply. We take about 10 public leaders per quarter. That's how we structure it. You know, quarter is 3 months, and we have 4 of them throughout the year. So we've already started our summer cohort, and y'all are already busy anyway. I mean, very busy. But we would welcome you. And right now, if you learned nothing from last November in the election of Donald Trump, the election of a Republican U.S. House of Representatives and a Republican U.S. Senate, and most of the governors in the country being Republican, as well as most of the legislatures being Republican. I don't know, maybe we have half this audience are Republican, which is fine. If you view yourself as having different orientation, the challenge is to stand up, get informed, and be engaged. And the way that you do that is by building your knowledge base, strengthening your relationships, being as constructive as you can in your own development. Because just like I said, what we talk about here is going to have ramifications later. What you choose to do is going to have significant ramifications. I'm kind of weird because when I was in school, all throughout school, I always tried to engage in the student office stuff, community service, volunteer opportunity, and a lot of people helped bring me along to understand that. The one area where I could have done much better on was applying myself to my studies. I did fine, but I could have done much better. And there are things that I do today where I said, man, if I apply myself in statistics and physics, in math and science, or in history, or in English class, a little differently and a little more constructively, how would I be able to execute this assignment in a unique way since? So it's the same way in all aspects of life. And I wouldn't say that it's regret, but it's a point that I think is very important to share to you. Literally what you do now, whether or not you choose to go to college, I hope you all are inspired to pursue post-high school opportunities in education, and that you continue your education over time, because there really is no incentive to simply go to high school or even go to college. You need to dig in, do well in both, and then keep on learning. If you don't get a master's degree, get a certificate or something like that. Why is it important for me to tell you this? Some of you aren't even in college. It's because if you don't think about it now, you won't make provision for it later. And these are things that folks don't talk about formally, and then you look up and you're 30 and you're 35. Now that's double your lifetime for now, but it'll be here faster than you think. If you think about it, how quick did the school year go by? It felt like it was going slow at first, then it's gone. Next thing you know, you're a junior or a senior, you got to make decisions. For some of you whose parents aren't as interested in having you stay, you got to find some place to live. So life comes fast, and you have an opportunity to seize it and to make it much more advantageous to you. It's all in your hands. And that's kind of what leadership, personal leadership, which can elevate to community leadership and broader leadership, is about. It's seizing the opportunity, strengthening and investing in yourself, and honoring the relationships that you have with your fellow human beings. With that, I thank you for allowing me to share some reflections with you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Give me your name, maybe what area you're from, what school you're at, and then your question.
Excuse me?
Give me your name, what area you're from, what school you go to, and then whatever your question may be.
My name is Christian Tolbert. I go to Ridley State, and I just graduated from Dorsey High School.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I have 3 questions for you.
All right.
How do you feel? How do you feel when you took office? And my other second question is, how do you feel that you doing the impact of your community, and has anything kind of like Donald Trump trying to take away from you? And my third question is, will you ever try to run for president in 2020?
All right, thank you for the question, Mr. Tobin. And again, congratulations on your graduation. Took office, I felt like it was a unique opportunity, because nobody young gets to hold office. So literally, the people that I deal with all day are about 65 years old. That's about 90% of the people that I deal with throughout the day. Now, I live in 2 cities. I live in Sacramento and Los Angeles. So my home base is here. I represent the area that includes Dorsey. And about half the week I'm in Sacramento. So I'll be on the plane in the next 48 hours going back to Sacramento to vote on laws, sit on committees. I chair a committee called Revenue and Taxation. We just deal with all the tax money. That's important to you because all the nice threads you got, you pay sales tax on it. If you have prepared food, you pay sales tax on it. No matter where you live, whoever owns the property, you pay property tax on it. And if you make any money, you have to file income tax and get that. By the way, who in here is 18? All right. I need you all to write something down. Pay attention very carefully. It's going to make you a lot of money if you listen to it. Tell me when you're ready. Now, you got to be 18, and you have to have siblings who are 18. Yeah, 18 or over. I want you all, tell me when you're ready. Everybody ready? Hurry up. I want you to pay attention to something. It's called don't write the whole name, but I'm going to give you the acronym. It's called the Earned Income Tax Credit. Earned income tax credit. I'm going to give you the initials. EITC. EITC. EITC is the Earned Income Tax Credit. If you are over the age of 18 and you file taxes, even when you don't owe, because most of you all aren't going to owe, if your parents don't otherwise claim you as a dependent, you are eligible to get government money just by virtue of filing your taxes. It's an anti-poverty program. If you make less than $14,000, which most of you likely will, in the next, you'll be filing in April for this current year, you will be eligible for roughly $6,000, $4,000 from the federal government and $2,000 from the state of California. That's something that people don't take advantage of that you don't know. You should file your taxes early, if you can, unless your parents otherwise cover you. So that was the big point, but you should keep things out unless you want to write down. Trump impact. And by the way, the reason that came to mind is because I chaired the tax committee. We set that program up, not enough people use it. Literally, there's about $1 billion a year that people don't take that they're eligible for. So we just rolled it over. We could increase it, but nobody files. If you file, you will receive in about a month and a half a tax refund check. One from the feds, one from the state of California, of a cumulative amount of about $6,000 if you make less than $14,000. If you make more than 14 but less than $50,000 as an individual, it's a sliding scale. So the least amount of money you get is about $700 to $900. I think each of us could use a little something. Is that okay? So the other thing I would say by virtue of being the chair of the Revenue Tax Committee, everybody needs to learn how to, I'm going to use a phrase that I don't often, ball on a budget. You all need to understand financial literacy so that you can have primacy over your financial future. Most people in the United States could not survive on a $700 emergency that comes up. Now, I don't know if you have a good concept of money. If you drive a car, that's not even a busted tire. $700. That's not barely a cracked window. It's $700. To the extent that you all, here's another thing you can write down: Mint.com. You use Mint? Does it work for you?
Yes.
Plan a monthly budget, right? Yeah. Well, tell them about what you do, if you don't mind.
So basically, Mint, it's an app where you can. Okay. So basically, Mint, it's like an app where you can put in like your credit cards, certain bills and things, and you can budget your money. It like tells you how much that you spend, and it tells you, oh, you shouldn't be spending all this money. Maybe you should put it towards this bill or this bill or this bill. So it kind of separates your money in between like miscellaneous stuff with your bills and things like that. It works for me.
When I worked at camps like you all do, if I wasn't participating, I used to love going to camp. And these kids love being in camp. You'll see it. What would happen is that I would be just fine, be having my money, Apple spending money, a couple $100 a week or a few hundred a month. And then I'd have something, I break my cell phone or something like that. It would literally wipe out my whole summer money. I hope that you all are not as reckless with your cell phones as I am. I see some of y'all have cases. I have like a super case now. I can drop this thing in the fire and be fine. Because I've broken so many phones. But you should have some financial literacy tool, some financial planning tool, because your expenses are monthly and most people spend more than they take in. A phrase that people who know about money like to talk about is live beneath your means, or be a conspicuous saver. People who spend conspicuously are like, it's not Kodak Black. Who was the one that had the money?
Young Black.
Young Black?
Black youngster.
Huh?
Black youngster.
Yeah, Black youngster. And he's the one that was firing at Jay-Z, right? Because he thought Jay-Z was coming after him.
I think so.
Yeah, but because of having the money and all that. Yeah, people who have money don't put it to their ear. They let it make money for them in investment accounts, basically. But I would, I would encourage you to use Mint and look at that EITC, and maybe little old Sebastian brought you something that might be worthwhile. Okay, Trump impact, big, substantial. The biggest impact is that everybody wants to be more engaged now, like learn how they can do something. Some communities are very fearful by virtue of Trump's rhetoric and attacks upon them. And then healthcare, the healthcare system, including the services for the young people you're going to serve, are threatened, unfortunately. That's probably the worst part. I mean, they're bad, you know, going after Latinos, going after Muslims, going after women and the like is terrible. But the most tangible impact for the broadest number of people is in the provision of health care. So for a state legislator, we're very concerned about that, and we have to figure out how to get the U.S. Congress to not pass the Obamacare repeal, and there are a couple different names for it. And then we have to also work with the administration and state governors to say, don't do that. If you do change it, don't put so much and don't cut services for millions and millions of people. We have done much better under Obamacare. Obama was a good president, objectively. But on health care, he was a Hall of Fame president. There are only like 2 or 3 other people who have been president. I think we've had 45 presidents in the United States, history of the United States, who were as decent as Obama, but he's probably one of the greatest because he got us closest to universal care. The importance of that is you get your service at the doctor's office rather than at the emergency room. If you get your health care at the emergency room, you're sicker and it costs more. It's the most expensive health care is in the emergency room. If you've ever seen your parent, if you ever had to get in an ambulance, or if your parent ever got a bill from the emergency room, it will make their hair turn white because it's stressful. And they say, don't take them in the ambulance, don't take them to the emergency, go to urgent care if you got to, because it is very, very expensive. Doesn't matter how much money you have, it's very expensive. And if you don't have much money, it is a pain. So that's really the Trump impact. And then 2020, in 2020, I will be 33, almost 34 years old. By virtue of that, I will be ineligible to run for president. But it's very kind of you to think you got to be 35 years old to be
So
president.
you'll be 34.
I'll be 34.
So is your term 35 right?
I would, so in 2024, I think is the earliest I would be eligible. But I feel, my opinion is that I can make a huge impact here in Los Angeles and in California. And a lot of people try to go national and then don't take care of home. I like home. Because I get to hang out with you. It's not as easy to do that if you're in Compton. You'll be on TV all the time, so you might see me more. But we won't be able to spend that much time together. And you won't catch me on Crenshaw as much as you do now. All right, any other questions? All right. Thank you. Oh, you didn't say no. That's the clapping for you. What you got?
My name is Chelsea. I grew up in Ladera.
Okay.
And I go to Texas Christian University.
Oh, yeah, TCU.
Yeah.
Orange Park.
Yeah.
All right.
I was wondering, how did you get your name out so young in order to reach like so many communities?
Okay. Is that your only question? Good. I was able to get my name out because I have a twin brother, and we went to school in public and private school, and we went to school with like 3,000 different people, and most of those people, really their parents, remembered us, and they saw us and they knew us and they felt comfortable for some reason with us. My parents are very well known. My dad has served on the county board of supervisors now, and he's been in office for most of my life. So he had a big name, has a big name. My mother worked as a mediator, basically negotiating disputes so people wouldn't fight each other for like 30 years. And then we have a large family. The other thing is that I knew how to get my name out. I knew how to go knock on people's doors because I had been doing it since I was in elementary school. And I never thought about it when I was in elementary school. I just thought it was something cool to do. I did a little bit of football. I did a little bit of music, band, and I did student government at Morehouse, at Loyola High School, at Pilgrim School, at 32nd Street School, at Baldwin Hills Elementary. So I just thought I was entertaining myself. What I didn't realize is that I was building leadership skills. And what you're doing now, Chelsea, by virtue of this camp, is building leadership skills, because you are going to be, by virtue of being a camp counselor, if that's what you are. Is everybody a camp counselor? You are literally going to be preparing yourself to be an educator, to be a group presenter, to be a salesperson, to be a speech writer or speech giver. And you never know those things until well after. But the only thing I would say is what you're doing now is going to have impact later. So that which you do that is constructive will substantially aid you in what you want to do. Do you know what you want to do as a profession after you get out of TCU? Okay, you want to be a physician's assistant. Alrighty, so you want to be almost a doctor, and probably more important than a doctor as more and more people get health care. All of the things that you're going to do and see in Texas and in California and everywhere else are going to lead toward that physician's assistant degree and your practice. And just as the positive will impact you, the not so positive will impact you. What you all faced that is a little different than me is I didn't have this thing called Facebook. It was called the Facebook at the time, by the way, until 2005, which is when I graduated from high school rather. I graduated from high school in 2005, went to college in that summer. So everything that happened from 1987 to 2005, there was no electronic record of it. If I got into trouble and suspended or whatever, it had to do detention, that wasn't in there. If I was fighting, that wasn't in there. If I was cursing, that wasn't in there. I'm not saying I did any of those things. But you all are on Front Street right now. And it's not always what you post. Yeah, that's some of it. But it's also what your peers post. So let's just say your 21 and up friends are having a red cup party. And you just happen to get caught in the camera shot. It's not you, but it'll usually get you in the court of public opinion. And when those jobs discriminated, marijuana got legalized last year, Prop 64, right? Don't be fooled. It'll get you. Everybody in here is black and brown, from what I can see. Maybe we have Asian brothers and sisters as well. We are disproportionately as a group represent, even with legal marijuana, we still get arrested for it because they got something called marijuana intoxication. It makes you too high for your own supply. And then if you don't buy in the supply chain, the penalties are going to get worse because, I'm sure none of you do, that marijuana, you get a ticket now if you consume it, or before last year you get a ticket if you didn't have the medicinal card. But now, if you buy from the weed man, not from a dispensary or authorized dealer, the penalties are going to get worse. So you could be buying something legal, but buying it in an illegal way. And I think that it raised the age of consumption to 21 for a recreational. Yep. So don't play yourself, and don't have me and your parents having to go testify as a character witness in court. Because all that you do, to your point, Chelsea, your question, it adds up and it kind of evens out. And I'm sure you all are going to have more good in your record than bad, but your record will be there. And it may be unspoken, but don't you want to realize the highest and best potential of what you may want to be, of what your siblings and your family may be relying upon you, on what your community needs, because we need more physicians assistants. I'm glad you're familiar with how I said it, because I want more healthcare professionals in the area that I represent. I think I'm your representative, by the way.
I went to South Bay though.
Oh, you went to South Bay?
Yeah. I grew up.
Okay, got it. Oh, grew up in there, right. Okay, well, consider me your honorary representative. If you shop at the Baldwin Hills Mall, Westfield Culver City, Westfield Century City, I'm your representative. If you watch movies that Fox puts out, or Sony puts out, I'm your representative. That's why I get to represent everybody. That's why I don't need to run for president, at least not now. I represent everybody already. But those are things that add up. If you're engaged in your religious institution, I'm a Christian, I'm a Baptist, and we used to have like the junior deacons and the usher board and all that stuff. And I taught Vacation Bible School a couple of times with my brother. That stuff adds up. Why? It teaches you discipline, preparation, how you present yourself, how you articulate, how people learn how to present in front of a group like this. At one point in my life, walking in here and just standing up and saying my name to you on a microphone would give me sweats. I'd be drenched in sweat and shaking. And you'd say, what's wrong with this guy? And now I can stand and deliver because I prepared myself. People work with me. I work through my own anxieties. There's some people who are my age who, if they came up to say, can we stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, they have to go outside and regurgitate because they were so nervous. There are things that you can work on now that are going to have great impact, and that's what helped me be able to even stand and talk to people. Everybody that I ran against 3 other people. They were 25 years older than me, and they said you can't trust him because you can't trust young people. Don't know enough, ain't been nowhere, not connected, not able to bridge the divide, because this district is very diverse. A large number of Latinos, a large number of whites, a large number of Asians, and a large number of blacks. So it takes a special kind of person to represent this area, because you got to be able to navigate a whole lot. You got to be able to go to synagogue on Friday night for Shabbat service. You got to be with the imams on Saturday morning. You got to go to the community centers and talk to senior centers, and you got to be shouting on Sunday morning, because that's the culture and the vibrancy of the community. You got to be able to eat Korean barbecue and pozole in the same day. And all of those things have added up for me. Everything that I have done in my life, and when it weighed out, it made me more competitive as a candidate at 26. I think the reason why I was very competitive is because I just had this experience since I was a little kid, and I had been listening. I'd always listened to what people said that they wanted and what they said they ascribed to. And then is one of your parents in the medical profession? Are they PAs? Okay. Well, you're going to have a bit of a hard time tonight because my parents were doing what I thought I wanted to do or could do. So I had good role models. They were successful, are successful. And I would encourage you to seek those who are successes in the field that you seek to be in. If you want to be a PA, if you want to teach PAs, that's another way to do it too. Seek people who are already doing it. See what their preparation habits are, what their training is, how they prepare, what do they read. If you ever want to seek somebody who's going to be a mentor, one of the good questions to ask, what do you read? What do you read in the morning? What do you listen to on the radio or watch on TV? Those things have a unique impact, and I think they help you strengthen yourself and prepare for your life. Every morning when I get up around 4:45, 5:15 in the morning, it's a habit from football, I read about 6 newspapers in the morning. And what does it do? It helps wake me up, helps me get through my minimal exercise I do in the morning, so I know I can do more. And get ready for the day. But it also makes me very informed. So not that I know everything, but I'm so sufficiently informed that I can talk to you about any number of topics. And when my staff walks in and hands me some notes, I know what they're talking about. And I don't have to read them verbatim because I've read them early in the morning. If you ever see anybody ever deliver a speech without reading their notes, they have probably committed it to memory. I'll give you a secret of speechifying. And by virtue of committing it to memory, you need to read something at least 3 times, even if you wrote it yourself. So by getting up and reading in the morning, it helps your mind. Remember I talked about the mind as a muscle. It helps your mind get used to consuming information. The newspaper is written at a 5th grade level. No one here is in 5th grade, right? So I have a college degree. I have some graduate training, didn't finish degrees in a master's program and a certificate program. There are at least 100 words in every major newspaper that I had never seen. And I went to good schools. And my one parent has a PhD, one parent has almost a PhD. So imagine if you start now reading and consuming information. You don't have to read, I mean, my stuff is kind of, it's a little extreme to read 6 publications in the morning, but just read one. That'll put you way ahead. Read PA Today, or PA Weekly, or PA Monthly, or a healthcare journal. Does anybody here want to be a teacher or an educator? There's something called Education Weekly. I would suggest that you read it. In preparing for the SAT, one of the tools that they asked me when I was preparing in 2003 and 4 was they said read 30 minutes a day outside of what your homework is. And it doesn't matter what it is. I love football, so I read NFL.com for 30 minutes a day after I did my homework and before I started doing my test prep. And it made me a very competitive. I got a decent SAT score. It earned me a tuition scholarship from Morehouse. Now, there are a whole lot of things that contributed to being successful in school, but it's those little things that no one talks about except the people who succeed. So I hope that all of you, if you're in TCU already, you're succeeding. You already have a goal about your career, you're succeeding. But I want everybody to succeed. Because I want Kendrick Lamar to be true. I think Kendrick is a prophet when he says we're going to be all right. But that means that we have to take active steps to be all right. We can't let Kendrick or Chance the Rapper's words ring hollow. We have an active role to play. Okay, I've talked a lot. No more questions? I'm a resource for you. Ms. Theus has the public leader brochures. She'll hand them out to you. You should apply. Even if you don't, you should come hang with us, see what we can do to help you, what you can do to help us in our community. And we'll be out there fighting the good fight. And we hope to see you along the journey, okay? Thank you.